DeMarco J here on iPower 1. We're here at iPower 989 at the Heart Planet Media Studios, One Nation Under Urban Music in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Thank you for being with me. We're here live on Facebook and on YouTube, wherever you can hear me or see me. Yes, can we take a look at live pictures at Times Square? Can we take a look at Times Square? Oh, yeah, look at that. How about making Times Square great again? How about that? After this pandemic is gone, have everything back to normal in New York City. Let me say this. Shout out to everyone in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Shout out to some of my people, my friends, my loyal listeners in Boston, Massachusetts, who have never let go, who refuse to let go of this radio station, who refuse to give up on me and my colleagues of this radio station. We are iPower 1. We are iPower 989, One Nation Under Urban Music. We used to be in Boston. We did 10 years in Boston, and now we have moved on to New York City. We are in our third year. We're going to be in our fourth year, doing another year of iPower 989, locally and nationally. Just to let everybody know out there that the iPower Evening Show is on 5 days a week when anytime we're on. From 7 to 11. We're not on this week, but we'll let you know ahead of time. Right now, I want to talk about my announcement. I got a special announcement, and don't take this the wrong way of what I'm about to say. I love Boston. I was born and raised in Roxbury, grew up in Mattapan, living in Hyde Park. Everybody knows me from my drawings that I've been doing. Now I'm doing sketch drawings online, on my website, on my computer. I still draw the orange line. I still draw any elevated line that used to be here in Boston. That's why I'm in New York all the time, because we used to have elevated lines here in the city of Boston. But when they took that down, Boston was never the same no more. But I'm still drawing the elevated orange line. This is why I travel. I am known as the travel jock. The travel jock. Traveling from Boston to New York, vice versa. Sometimes I do a radio show out there in New York. Sometimes I do a radio show here in Boston, but that does not mean that this is a Boston radio station. It's still a New York radio station, as promised. And the announcement that I'm about to make is we are no longer going to do any business with Boston. Nothing wrong with Boston, but I was not cut out for Boston. Thanks to the people that made that decision that I should not be doing business in Boston, whether it's in the black and brown communities of Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. They say I don't belong there. So it's obviously they're making decisions for me without even doing any research, without even not even calling me to ask me, DeMarco, what do you do here at this radio station? Do you reach out to the black communities? Obviously I do, because I grew up listening to Tom Joyner, listening to Russ Parr, still listening to the Russ Parr Morning Show to this day, since 2000, when it used to be on WILD-FM, when we used to have that station. I never left Russ Parr. I never left Tom Joyner. Tom Joyner retired last year. I'm now listening to The Breakfast Club from out of New York on Power 105. Big shout outs to Power 105 because I listen to them every morning, along with Russ Parr in the DMV on 102.3, the real sounds of the DMV. See, I keep the same energy. I always had, always will. And I'm going to read what I put on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure it will be posted in a second, and you can read it yourself on why I'm no longer doing business with Boston. And this does not go against the loyal listeners that listen, that tune into the radio show. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about my loyal listeners. Shout out to Dre Martin, Felicia Renee. Shout out to Team Solis out in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Shout out to Mickey Montes. Shout out to Nora. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about anyone who has been on this program. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those who hate the radio station. I'm talking about those who hate me, my colleagues, Ricky, Stefan, Raphael, who hate us because we did not do it Boston's way during those first 10 years when we was in Boston doing the iPower Evening Show. Well, I'm sorry. That ain't me. I think outside the box, get out my comfort zone, and I travel. I'm a travel jock. Remember when Tom Joyner was the fly jockey? Probably is still the fly jock. But I am a travel jock. I travel back and forth. I do not stay in Boston. I am not this all-day Boston person. That's not me. That's never been me. And it will never be me. It's no secret that I'm for New York. It's no secret I'm for New Jersey. It's no secret that I'm for Connecticut. It's no secret that I am for the tri-state area. It's no secret that I am for Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Stanford. It's no secret when it comes to New Jersey. I'm for Newark, New Brunswick, East Orange, New Jersey. Everybody knows that I drive, well, not drive, but ride the Amtrak back and forth, ride the New Jersey Transit, ride the Metro North from New Haven all the way into Times Square. Not Times Square, but Grand Central Station. So before anybody, whether you are from Boston or whether you are from NYC, just talk to me. Don't put out these hearsays that DeMarco hates Boston. He hates local artists. Oh, he said F Boston. I never said those things. Those are haters out there that put words in my mouth to think I said I hate Boston, to think I said F Boston, to think I said I hate black people in Boston. I hate local artists in Boston. No, I don't. I just work with limited artists who thinks outside the box and gets out their comfort zone. Those are the people I work with. I don't work with these, and no disrespect. These are talented artists. I have nothing against them. But I work with artists who wants to be outside the box, get out this Boston bubble, get out their comfort zone. Those are the artists I work with. And some of the artists I work with right now, besides Boston, those are the ones I work with in NYC, even though they rep Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan. They go outside their comfort zone as well. I see some in the ATL. I see some in LA, but they always come back to the NYC, 718-212, wherever you from in the Big Apple. Everybody knows deep down in my heart, I will rep the NYC to the day I die. That's who I am. They have the elevated trains. They have the elevated lines, whether you're talking about Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. Even though the number 6 train is one of my favorite lines, besides the number 1 train going to Van Cortlandt Park, I love taking the number 6 train to Pelham Bay Park. I've been on mostly, as a matter of fact, I've been on all the lines. When you talk about NYC, you got to get used to the lines, because I surely got used to taking the number 4 train to 161st Street at Yankee Stadium, the Bronx. That's one of my favorite lines, going to Woodlawn on Jerome Ave. But everybody knows, you know now, that I rep New York. I'm sorry, Boston. I gave y'all 10 years, and I hate to say this, some of y'all failed me. Matter of fact, this city failed me. I tried to do my best to get involved, but you didn't want me in your city, my city. And that is sad. This is why some artists leave the city, because they felt disrespected, overlooked. I know some artists right now that called me up, emailed me, that they are in New York, Atlanta, LA. Shout out to Dale Collins, a.k.a. DC the Musical Artist. You think he wants to stay in Boston? You think he wants to waste his energy in Boston when some of them don't want to work with this young man? 47 years old, just turned 47. Y'all dissing this man? He's giving you energy. He's putting his energy into supporting you, but you won't give him that same energy. What is up with that? That's wrong. I don't blame DC if he wants to leave for Atlanta. And I'm encouraging that brother to leave for Atlanta. I'll bet they'll pick him up in a heartbeat. They'll pick him up in a heartbeat. Same thing with Tremendo. That's my brother from another madre, from Puerto Rico, living in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Shout out to that brother. He's out there promoting his music, coming up with a new album. And I told Tremendo, I work with Team Solis. I'm down with Team Solis. And I'm willing to go wherever he goes in the tri-state area, whether it's New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere there's Puerto Ricans representing reggaeton, salsa, bachata. Well, that's Dominican, but still, música latina. It's about connecting and working together. Let me not waste your time. Let me read this Facebook post so everybody can understand where I'm coming from. All right, here we go. I think it's appropriate to say enough is enough. When this radio station debuted back in January 2007, the main goal was to reach out to black and brown people in the city of Boston. But when that failed by the infiltration of the jealousy, the envy, the haters, the snakes, and the backstabbers, despite the radio programs online were a success nationwide, the online radio station for some in Boston became enemy number one. Some admitted that they hate this radio station because of my creativity and talent and was not doing it Boston's way. When the iPower internet radio station transitioned out of Boston into NYC on Wednesday, July 5th, 2017, improvements of the radio has been made successfully. Even though this radio station wasn't fully accepted in Boston and NYC has embraced iPower 989 FM, it is now time to cut all business, communities, and affiliations with the city of Boston, all based on their own decisions of hearsays, lies, and false narratives not being accepted on purpose. It is now time to move forward and continue to make connections with NYC, the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We will continue to reach out to limited known artists from Massachusetts that has been connecting with the online radio station since day one and who are thinking outside the box. It is now time for a permanent contract with New York. I am for New York, always had, always will. All right, so there you have it. Look, like I said, I don't hate Boston. The problem is I don't like where Boston's going. And what's happening in Boston is a disgrace. And it's forcing me out of this city to go work and do business somewhere else, like NYC. Because what I see in NYC or in Newark, Hartford, is something that I don't see in Boston. Why is that? I can pick Jordan Lucas as an example. He thought outside the box and got out his comfort zone. Can you blame him? I can't blame him. I support that brother all the way. He's worked with Chris Brown, Eminem, J. Cole, major heavy hitters in the hip-hop game. Can you blame him? Half the people in Worcester didn't like his decision, but the other half loved his decision on what he made. You got people in Worcester saying that Jordan Lucas is putting Worcester on the map. He is putting Worcester on the map because he did like any other Boston artist would do, thinking outside the box, got out their comfort zone. Guru from Gangstar, New Edition, BBD, Bobby Brown, New Kids on the Block, Mark Wahlberg. They got out their comfort zone, while some artists stayed in their comfort zone. And no disrespect, I can't work with just Boston artists who are talented, who are amazing, who are spectacular, who work their ass off. If you want to stay in Boston, that's fine. I got no problem with that. That's not a problem for me. But I'm on a different level of excellence. I'm on a different level of thinking. I love working with people, whether it's from Boston, Rhode Island, don't matter. If you are about thinking outside the box, we can talk. If you're about traveling, we can talk. If you're about going to New York, spending the night over at a hotel, we can talk. If you're about business, traveling, performing, whether in the Bronx, Brooklyn, we can talk. Remember, I'm the traveling guy. I'm the travel guy. DeMarco J, the media guy. DeMarco J. That's what I do. I'm about New York. And there's no turning back. I'm going forward. All right, let's read your emails. I want to know what you have to say regarding the iPower Ether show. For those who have been listening with me, Unpretty Ricky, Stefan Mason, and Rafael Castro, y'all had some emails that you want me to read, and let's not waste no time. Let's read them. Tyler J. from Boston, Massachusetts writes, I was born and raised in Boston. I grew up in Roxbury. I'm a big fan of your online radio station. Whoever said no one listens or watches iPower anymore is telling a lie. Mike Sullivan from Somerville, Massachusetts writes, I lived in Boston all my life, and I do listen to 98.9 when I get a chance. To me, it's still a Boston radio station, despite that it's now a New York online station in NYC. I will forever support your work and your amazing talent. Charlene Dennis from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn writes, I'm an African-American woman, and I like how you rep our culture when it comes to our history, our black-owned businesses, etc. That doesn't mean I have to be friends with somebody I knew for 30 or 40 years. Alicia Cotto from East Harlem, New York writes, even though I and others support your work in radio and TV, part of the media, that don't mean everybody will support you. And you're right. Only focus on the loyal fans and not the people who are against you and your radio station since day one. Camry Jeffers from East Orange, New Jersey writes, despite of what people think of you based out of their emotional self-hatred, that's their own opinion, which most of the time are not always factual. They don't validate you nor know what's best for your future. Tamika Austin Hill from Newark, New Jersey writes, friends come and go on social media. As long as you're doing you, that's all what counts. Deborah Ryan from Long Island, New York writes, I don't go by hearsay when it comes to what people say or know about you from your negative vibe. However, there are others that will do their own research about you from a positive vibe and what you do for the public and not as a personal beef. Jordan B. from Boston, Massachusetts writes, always, and I mean always, keep your circle small. Just because we're black and proud from Boston does not mean some of our own people are for us, despite on how we rep our culture. Mickey J. from the Bronx writes, currently I live in the Bronx under the 4 line near 161st Street Station near Yankee Stadium. I see you are a good sketch artist when it comes to the elevated subway lines. Has Boston ever gave you any kind of recognition for your artwork? Mickey J. from the Bronx, Boston's a racist city. You really think that they're going to put my artwork out there about the history of the elevated orange line that they ignore? Some of them don't want to look at the old Boston. Well, I'm sorry, I'm from the old Boston, and I grew up when that line exists. They don't recognize talent from black artists. That's why I don't do business with Boston. And the sad part about this is that some people, including black people in Boston, ignore talent like this, whether it's on radio or TV or sketch artwork. See, when your own city ignores black talent, that's why you have to take your talent somewhere else where you will get that love. Unfortunately, it won't be your own city for some. And Chris Antonio Ramos from Bushwick, Brooklyn writes, let's be honest, my brother. Did NYC treat you, your crew, and your online station with better results than back in Boston? I quite do understand that thinking outside the box and getting out your comfort zone is truly the best decision for anyone who wants it. This is why I don't pay Boston no mind. This is why I do not want to do business with Boston. You see all this talent, and you overlook me on purpose. On purpose. Well, moving right along. I got better fish to fry. All right. Reach out to us anytime on our social media at iPower1Real, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. Plus, reach out to 989NY via email at iPower1Nation@gmail.com. That's iPower1Nation@gmail.com.